र अन्तिम बल बाँकी यो खेलको पहिलो ओभर सेकेन्ड ओभरको अन्तिम बल गर्ने क्रममा बलर तर यता म्याक्स ओ दौडको विकेट चाहिँ हाम्रो लागि महत्त्वपूर्ण हो र उनी नेपालसँग राम्रो आँकडा पनि राख्ने गर्छन् र यता माइकल लेभिटको आँकडा राम्रो थिएन नेपालको टिम विरुद्ध र उनी आज छिट्टै नै आउट हुन पुगे र यता माइकल लेभिटको विकेट जान पुग्यो र 1 रन रहेको नेदरल्यान्डको टिम 1 विकेटको नोक्सानीमा यो विकेटको झड्का गर्न पुग्यो र विकेट निकाल्दै खेलको यता सेकेन्ड ओभरको सुरुवात गरियो यो विकेट गर्न पुग्यो यो झड्का गर्न पुग्यो र कट एन्ड बोल्ड भएका रहेछन् बलरले आफ्नै हातमा क्याच गरेका थिए र कट एन्ड बोल्डको रूपमा यो विकेट रहेको र विकेट रन पुग्यो यो झड्का रन पुग्यो झड्का रहेसँगै 1 रन 1 विकेट रहेको बलरले भन्दा पनि यो बल त रोहितले पो क्याच गरेको हो यहाँ कट एन्ड बोल्ड देखाइरहेछ तर रोहितले क्याच गरेको हुन् यो क्याचलाई यो कट एन्ड बोल्ड अलिकति उल्टो देखाएको रोहित कुमार पौडेलले चाहिँ क्याच गरेको हुन् र यो रोहितले क्याच गरेर विकेट रन पुग्यो पहिलो ओभरको खेलको अन्त्य गरियो र पहिलो ओभरको खेलको अन्त्यसँगै 1 रन सेकेन्ड ओभरको सुरुवात गरिएसँगै यहाँ 1 विकेट रन पुग्यो सुम्पल कामीको नाममा सुरुवाती पहिलो बलमा विकेट निकाल्न पुगेसँगै रोहित कुमार
off the mark. Yeah, just our apologies. The latest information we have is that we're going to be without the direct behind the bowler's view today because of the strength of winds. It would be unsafe to have the additional poles up, so we will keep you posted on that if there is any change. His Powell hairs after it, and great effort, but doesn't do enough. The skipper, well, he really made up ground in that ball, didn't he? Did all the hard work, got there, but he's ended up. That ball, didn't he? Kiss the rope.
I hope it might have just given himself a bit of rope.
Runs at the top of the order for the Dutch.
Yeah, he's been a real stalwart for them at the top of the order. Has Max O'Dowd. He's right up there at the top of the run scoring charts as well.
Wicket.
Yeah, just bringing that up. Fourth on the list of run scorers in the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup League 2 in this edition. 668 runs. Is averaging almost 40.
Ball.
Above him in the charts, just Monak Patel, Milind Kumar, both from the US, and Henry George Munsey from Scotland, who's top of the averages. Yeah, O'Dowd has been a run-scoring machine for them. Only a top score of 79 not out. So, have a look at this one again. But it's been the consistency of runs and contributions rather than the big scores. only one in the top 5 who hasn't scored 100 in this particular cycle, but it's just those consistent contributions to the team.
Yeah, neither Max O'Dowd nor Scott Edwards have an ODI ton, which is more than a misnomer, isn't it? When you think about just how productive and effective they are. Well, obviously.
Required in 18 and the 6 balls last over.
Yeah, O'Dowd in terms of the fastest, but he's a fine player, and yeah, I think it's probably a matter of time, but those kind of things, they hang over you a little bit as a batter, don't they, Mel? And they can definitely get into your head. So when you get to 60s, 70s, 80s, you start to think about it. I suspect once they break through, they'll end up making quite a few hundreds, but both players will be acutely aware of it.
Just something that ends up being mentioned by everyone else, isn't it? You think of even a player like Joe Root, everyone talks about how, oh, well, he hasn't scored 100 in Australia, so, you know, has he really done it?
Sort of a straight pull down the ground. It's a tumbling Gulshan Jha who does the fielding. So many bowling options, don't they, Nepal? We didn't see Dipender Singh Ari the other day. Vikramjit Singh gets established at the crease. He might be tempted to turn to the off-spinner. Thought that Gulshan Jha bowled really well, but he didn't come in till, what, the 36th over or something like that in the first innings 2 days ago. Rohit Powdell has almost got too many options.
Yeah, we did discuss that, didn't we? He can almost have nine bowlers come and roll their arm over. 2 slips in at the moment. This is nice and aggressive from Nepal.
Down the leg side, could be given as wides, and Asif Sheikh, who had such a good day 2 days ago at the clubs, isn't able to stop that very effectively. Welcome along to today's coverage. You're watching us live on ICC TV. Do you just have to give you the information due to high winds? We are shy a couple of cameras today, so we won't have that
What
kind of
the
fixed view you'll
umpire
be used to
yaar.
from directly behind the umpires, kind of over the umpire's head, if you will, behind the stumps. And we'll do our best to adjudicate the LBW decisions and outside edges as we can. It's a chilly morning, it's a very windy morning. Some talk, Mel, of gusts of up to 35, 40 kilometres an hour today, remarkably.
It is so windy up there. I'm trying to see if I can get the cameras to get a shot of the flags that are on the little scorer's hut near us.
Playing a miss. Karen Casey looks like a man with a real jig in his step, Mel, doesn't he? And you can understand why.
I think he's still on cloud 9. There you can see the flags that are flying above the scorer's hut right now. It's absolutely stiff as a board, those flags. Wind is super strong, and that, as you're looking on your screen, is blowing. I'll wait until we have the camera changed to the other angle. But it's basically going towards leg side, so leg side hitting into the wind.
Yeah, right to left, as you look there on your screen, as Vikramjit Singh drives for a single end of the third. It's 10 for 1. See there, 2 flags are doing well to stay onto the flagpole, Mel, aren't they?
Tell you what, they really are. They they're just straining. The actual flagpole is swaying almost wildly when you look at it from this angle. We did see some balls that got into that wind actually go over the fence into the house next door yesterday. The old over and out.
Yeah, the one Karen KC picked up off Michael Leask. It was a particularly good shot, wasn't it? The way he got it up into the wind and it just kept going.
Yeah, we had a few sort of head out that way over the scorer's hut. Incredibly, the one he played down the ground of Safian Sharif, it cleared the clubhouse and the...
It was the Yorker he missed, wasn't it?
नहीं
Floods off the thigh pad, then Sharkey takes the catch. I think the umpire feels as though it's thigh pad only. That was the only noise that we could hear. We're a long way away. But I think that's a good decision. We've got an old Scottish umpiring pairing today. The fine legal mind of David McLean is joined by Ian MacDonald out there. Our reserve umpire from Bangladesh is Ghazi Sahel. And Graham McRae is the Irish match referee, who we saw out at the toss. Yeah, definitely thigh pad only. Although Sharkey was up and about and interested. A little bit of a misnomer, Mel, as well. Oh, short
Good
ball
one.
from Cam, he is. You were saying it's difficult to start here
Mr.
at this
Shinbalai.
pitch. I think you're right in what you're saying through the middle overs. I think early on in the first power play, we saw Nepal score really fluently. I think we saw Munsey think as though it was an absolute road, given the form he's in. He was attacking and attacking. Took 12 off the first over before he was dismissed. And then even Charlie Tier, who threaded his little start to international cricket, has scored very slowly. He was hammering along it over a run of ball for much of his innings. So I think maybe some of the best times to bat here on this surface, like Vikramjit Singh shows us there, is going to be in this first power play. The ball comes onto the bat very nicely. It's when it gets a little bit softer, it's going to be trickier and maybe stopping, and that's where the variety in Nepal's bowling attack could very much come into effect. Well run there for 3.
And it emphasises the fact that the batting team really has to make the most of the power play, knowing that it is going to get tricky to get in afterwards. Certainly Richie Berrington was saying after the match he never quite felt in. But at this point in time, and that's perhaps why Scott Edwards said we're going to have a bat, just feeling that with the ball coming on early, maybe they could just make the most of this power play and get themselves... into a strong early position. Could get harder conditions, could get trickier later today. The Netherlands team are here because it was a Netherlands company that installed the hybrid pitch here at Fort Hill in the lovely village of Brossie Ferry.
Yeah, there's plenty of hybrid pitches in the Netherlands, so that's something that will not bother them or worry them in any way, shape or form. They'll know exactly how they play. Only thing I've felt about the hybrid pitches here in Scotland as opposed to the ones I've seen in action in Netherlands, there's a bit more bounce here at the Forfarshire CC grounds than the ones we saw skidding on in the Netherlands, where Carl Klein has particularly used them to such good effect. We'll get us to the end of the 4th over. 13 for a cautious start. Nepal have that early breakthrough and they've kept the run scoring in check. Good start from the men, full of confidence after that heroic win 2 days ago.
It certainly is, and Lenny, I feel like I owe our viewers an apology. Our viewers in Nepal, because you're asking people to send us messages and tell us where they were watching from. And I was looking on X, formerly known as Twitter, and then I suddenly, later in the day, I looked on Instagram and I had loads of messages. And so if you do send them in today, I will check on Instagram and I'll read out and respond to as many as I can.
A lot of people have exodus that platform, haven't they, from X or whatever they call it now. It's a shame because it was such a brilliant platform a while ago before certain things changed. As we get a look at the single that Singh runs through. Yeah, do get in touch, use that hashtag CWCL2. Tell us where you're watching from. Crucially, send a photo of it too as well. So some great setups with people either enjoying a 4 a.m. in the morning wake up in Texas or a late night down in Canberra or Taranga in New Zealand. Messages from Korea, Japan, all corners of the globe where particularly the Nepalese diaspora have spread out to. Plenty in the Middle East as well. Huge student population of Nepalese students in Korea. Fascinating, particularly in Seoul. From an Irish perspective, obviously that's my first home, but my second home is very much Nepal. And it's something I can empathise with. We have emigrated not just decades, but generations for all eternity, it feels like. And it's now what Nepali students are doing in particular all around the world. They spread their culture, their joy, their way of being. Huge populations in Australia, in America. And actually, it's rather fitting that Nepal are playing Netherlands today, isn't it?
It's a special anniversary.
Isn't it? 1 year on to the day. Let's have a talk about that game, Mel. That was what Ian Bishop referred to as one of his moments of the entire T20 World Cup. Nepal coming back into World Cup action for the first time in 10 years. And the fans and the colour and the noise that they made at the Major League Cricket Stadium there in Grand Prairie in Texas was simply unforgettable. A year ago today.
Yeah, a year ago today it was a low-scoring thriller. There were storms about. It was... I love games like that sometimes, when it is difficult and it is low-scoring. It was Netherlands victorious on that occasion by 6 wickets, but only 8 balls remaining. They take another single, but I think it was the first time that many people, you mentioned Ian Bishop, saw how passionate the Nepalese fans are, and they really are a special bunch. We saw it here 2 days ago. The world saw it a year ago today in Dallas.
It's a tiny bit of concern. You'll think we're lying to you given the bright scenes you're seeing on the TV. There's a bit of a concern from the ground staff. They're hustling around the covers. There's a few drops of rain in the air.
I just felt it come in. That's why, I've just put my hand out, and I'm trying to work out where it's coming from, because there is a lot of blue sky above us.
Bowls him. Karen KC straight through. It is Karen Casey's world right now. We are purely living in it, Mel Farrell. What a piece of bowling. Gets it full, gets it straight, and finds its way straight through Max O'Dowd. It's the old friends at it again, Cammy and Casey.
Well, he just continues to have a wonderful series, full straight, pings middle stump. Karen Casey, he loves a big moment, and don't bet against him having a few more big moments here today. But O'Dowd, it is a big wicket. He departs for 4. Nepal have their second.
And immediately Scott Edwards' questionable call that the toss is coming into view. Couldn't believe he won the toss and chose to bat first. It was more than a touch surreal. But it's a windy, blustery day. There's cloud cover about. I know there is sunshine as well. Can't be more than, I know that the thermometer might say 12 degrees. The real feel is probably 3 or 4. Just have a look there at Bashir Ahmed. Bashir Ahmed looks like he's wrapped up like an Eskimo, ready for Arctic duties.
I've got a bone to pick with you. When you say 3 or 4, you forgot to put the minus in front of it.
It's freezing. Absolutely freezing.
I can't. I'm going to have to go to my 4th layer. I was hoping to hold off a bit longer.
So Scott Edwards will have to now stride to the crease and face the brunt of his decision. You can see Rohit Powdell said, yeah, we obviously wanted to bowl first. Very blustery. And inside edge, the 2 veterans for Nepal causing plenty of problems. What a start for Nepal. And they've still got Lalit Rajbanshi to come. Halfway through the power play, Edwards is off the mark. It's 17 for 2. So the dream start for Nepal, driven by two of their greatest servants, Sampal Kami and Karen Casey. Remarkable to think that this wasn't a small number of people online. There's one poor gentleman, I'm not going to name him, who posted a tweet on the morning of the game when the team was selected. I'm pretty sure, Mel, it went something like this. Oh, in the air, but just wide of the gully fielder, Kushal Bertel, as Edwards, well, just hung the bat out at it. He tries to play positively, but took a risk there. Yeah, one gentleman, a fan, tweeted, "Why is Karen Casey in the 11 today? He may not even make it through the full 100 overs."
Wow.
It's been deleted. Subsequently, not before many Nepal fans called out their attention to that gentleman.
Internet never forgets.
Never forgets. I'm not going to call the person's name out or anything like that. And I think every fan is entitled to their opinion. If they enjoy the sport and love the sport, absolutely. And it's part of the, sometimes it descends into diatribe, but part of the discussions that make up the fabric of our game as the bales are blown off, such as the strength of the wind. I think we're probably service that Kami and Casey have given this Nepal team. Kami was involved in that first T20 World Cup all the way back in 2014 as a teenager. And Karen Casey spoke rather evocatively, didn't he, about, you know, not the heroics. He said, no, this is my job, this is my role.
Yeah, and I thought that was great. He said it's all about experience and giving your experience to the team.
Just saw the wicket again there, didn't you? The leg stump Yorker. I think what happened, Max Adair almost Yorked himself, didn't he?
Came down the pitch, and that was his undoing in the end. He's a very canny bowler. It's Karen Casey. You talk about that experience, and Kami as well. The two of them, the wise heads. I did really love that. It wasn't about either of these two. It was about the team. Wind is really picking it up. It's making it very difficult here. Lovely shot, though. Wow.
A glorious stroke. Vikramjit Singh, I think he's as stylish a player as we have in the associate game. And many Dutch fans were questioning how could they leave him out? He was left out for Michael Levitt in terms of the opening role, but surely they should have kept him at number 3. Just a fraction over pitched. And look at that. Sabred through the offside.
Oh, it really was a stunning shot. Just the timing, the grace.
Oh, no, good change of angle. And because Kami's natural shape, Mel, is the away swinger to the left-hander, which will act as an in-swinger, away swinger to the right-hander, in-swinger to the left-hander, that's going against the wind. So your natural kind of inclination as a batter is that you're going to wind. He's played slightly the wrong line, and you can see there, very nearly loses his off stump. This is a really good start, isn't it, from Kami and Casey. One of the surprises for me, Mel, Dutch choosing not to play any kind of a warm-up game here. Most sides coming into these League Two series try to speak to the home board about playing, whether it's a select side, an under-19s, an A-team, or even a club side, just to get something in the local conditions. The KNCB, though, because there was top-class action as recently as last weekend, I think every member of the squad here was actually in top-class action over the weekend. That's just gone by, and before that they had the Pro Series, 3 T20s. It's a tricky series this for the Dutch, isn't it? Because they're missing all their county players, and also they very much have a laser focus on qualifying for the T20 World Cup in that European qualifier that will come up and they'll host. So the Pro Series matches were played in the T20 format. And then they'll have the T20I Tri-Series after this in Glasgow that will help them prepare for the World Cup qualifier. So it's almost like all the focus is on T20 cricket, but they have to then still keep their eyes on these 4 crucial ODIs too.
Well, I think Netherlands and Scotland are in a bit of a similar position in that regard, and we saw that coming into this series, that both of them were missing a lot of county players who were unavailable. I know Scotland also had other players who weren't available because of winning. That's just part of life, certainly for Scotland all the time. But not having their best players available, they both got their eye on that T20 Europe qualifier.
The one thing I do love, though, about the Dutch setup, Ryan Cook, Ryan van Niekerk and Heino Kuhn make up an incredible coaching trio. They never even mention it. They don't talk about the players that are unavailable. They don't talk about the fact that they'd love to have Tim van der Hoogten and Fred Klaassen and Colin Ackerman, maybe even Shane Snater and others in and around the team. Bas de Leede, of course they would love to have Bas de Leede. But they merely say whoever we've got available have to play the same brand of cricket. They call it a total cricket, or if you're a Ruud Gullit fan, as that's driven, but how it is, it does well, I think, in the covers. If you're a Ruud Gullit fan, you could call it a sexy cricket. It's the Dutch total cricket attitude. And what that means is they run between the wickets incredibly well. They do all the one percenters really well. Their team bonding, their team philosophy is incredibly tight-knit. They're more like a family, really, than an international side. So they make the very most of their ability. Wait till you watch them field. Nepal have a fine fielding side. Maybe the only better fielding team in this entire league is the Dutch team. So they play a brilliant brand of cricket, whoever they have available. So that one's carved away and going to be fielded very well by Lalit Rajbanshi. Keeps it to a single. So it doesn't matter the personnel, they still play that same brand.
Well, if you want to talk about sexy cricket, Andrew Leonard, then we'll always keep it very PG here on ICC TV, of course, but sexy cricket to me is, I'll just watch Vikram Singh play those cover drives all day, whether or not they go straight to a field or to the boundary. They are just sumptuous to watch. And it really is stylish, so that sort of sexy cricket I'm all in on. All in on, Lenny.
If you're wondering what we're referring to, Ruud Gullit was a Dutch footballer from the early 90s. Late 80s, actually, as well. And he became a very good pundit for BBC. They brought him over and loved using him. He had evocative ways of describing things with that kind of famous Dutch accent. And almost the entire population of the Netherlands speaks incredibly good English, but they do always do it in a quite sort of funny, accented way. And I don't know, do I have it in me this morning? Maybe I do.
Go on.
Yes, the sexy football is what we play. So something in that vicinity was what Ruud Gullit said in the late 90s, and we've had a bit of a joke in and around the Dutch team. Because total football was what Johan Cruyff brought in the late 70s or mid 70s for the Dutch team, and I love the way that they're so proud of representing the Netherlands. They're trying to play their brand of, they call it total cricket, but for a bit of fun.
Well, it's funny you say that, because it was a couple of years ago, I think Ben Jones from CricViz, of course, the very well-known analytics company that works all around the world in cricket, he wrote a piece about total cricket. He was doing it more in terms of how England were playing their ODI cricket a few years back. Beaten the edge on that occasion. But yeah, Ben Jones was talking about a hyper-aggressive...
Just get a look at the replay. Sorry, Mel, to cut you off. Oh, how's that missed? KC, he's up and about, isn't he? End of the 7th, 25 for 2.
Yeah, just that concept of total cricket, and I think that has been floating around, so I'm enjoying hearing that the Netherlands are doing it as well, just as we get another replay of that. He's beaten him all ends up. Now Scott Edwards, very lucky.
Another one that beats the outside edge. Now, Scott Edwards is a fantastic player of spin, and he is always effective in the way in which he accumulates runs. He tends to score very, very quickly and gets on with it in a way that you would think you blink and he gets to 30 off 30. If he has a slight weakness, it's early in his innings against the moving ball. That's why there's been many speculating, should Edwards be up the order, particularly with no Bas de Leede in and around the team, although he's been down at number 6. Should Edwards be up at number 3 or number 4? He is in at 4 today. Another one beats the outside edge that bounces prodigiously off the surface. But Edwards has had much of his success at number 5. That's why he hasn't been getting centuries. He keeps getting 50s because he's not out there long enough. But his game has evolved, hasn't it? He's a much better driver of the ball now. I think many can't believe in the associate game he's not getting more goals in franchise leagues because his glove work alongside it is exemplary too. But this is a challenge. Kami and KC getting prodigious movement, and again putting heavily under the microscope of that decision of Edwards to win the toss and bat first. I couldn't get my head around it out there when it happened. I can't get my head around it now, Mel.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it is just so difficult out there. Early on, just with the blustery wind, might have been happy to get in there bowling first, see if he could eke out the wickets. Of course, Nepal putting on a record for them. One-day international chase 2 days ago against Scotland, chasing down 297. Just doesn't look easy out there, but the power and the timing pulling strongly.
It may be the first time we see Kami miss his length, just a fraction short, and pulled away with real aplomb. This is a critical partnership for the Netherlands. If you look at their potential weakness, you would imagine it's in the kind of lower middle order. You've got the inexperience of Zakaria and Cachet, who started well in international cricket. Teja Nidaminoru at number 6 has kind of been a bit in and out of the squad, few injury issues, or in and out of the 11, that is. And Noah Kroos at 7 is rich with potential, doing well in domestic cricket, but hasn't shown it yet up at international level. And then if you're going to have to rely upon Kyle Clyde, who's going to bat ahead of Roelof van der Merwe at 8 and 9, you're getting yourselves into trouble. So this is the partnership for the Netherlands. And if Nepal could somehow break it, particularly still in the power play, first power play here, they would be right on top of their opposition. That'd be a wide down the leg side.
Yeah, that one's called. And just looking at Scott Edwards coming into this, he comes a very typical run of form for Scott Edwards, where he's got a couple of half centuries, two in the past 5 games, 2 scores in the 70s, 2 scores in the 40s. So it's those contributions without necessarily going really big, but I think they'd be pretty happy to get a score in the 70s from him today, especially if Vikram Singh can hang around out there with him.
Beauty. Honestly, difficult with the angle we have today to tell you exactly what's happening, but looks like there's lateral movement there, to say the least.
I'm sure that wind is helping dramatically with it. I'm just looking at those flags again. If anything, it's got stronger since we showed those to you last time. I don't know if you can hear it as well, but even our marquee around us is creaking and croaking. Eight overs gone. Netherlands 30 for 2.
It's unwatchable.
So Karen Casey, continuing, has been terrific so far. He taken the wicket of Max O'Dowd. Big scalp already. Following from the pavilion end. That's beautifully driven. That's another boundary for Edwards. Lovely stroke. Just starting to motor on through the gears now, Edwards. And a big contribution from their skipper today, one would imagine. This partnership crucially important to the Netherlands side. Just got on top of that one really well. Do get a little bit of extra bounce here on this hybrid wicket. This time, Fielder's cut it off as Edwards aims to play a similar shot. Do apologise, we are having a few technical issues, not helping things. It's preventing us from having the usual camera angles. To sort things out as much as we can for you.
Doing the leg side this time. Connection. Maybe with a bit of the thigh pad. David McLean looks so he's the kind of man who's umpired in these conditions before, doesn't he? He's the only one who doesn't look cold out there, Mel.
Well, we've got two Scottish umpires out there today, so I don't want to hear any complaining from them. Both of them were out in Rome with me last week